F105. Bringing in the isolation music. This is a theme song of the 2020 plague that struck. Happy lunch, everybody, as my internet goes to hell. I just watched it. Oh, it's back. I'm James. It's lunchtime. Joining me now is Brock. Brock, what up?
Hey.
And Andrew.
Oh, you know.
Happy lunch. You know, it's funny that you brought up the word plague, James, because I was literally thinking this morning, if, the Black Plague that ravaged medieval Europe, if that had come out in today's day and age, I wonder if it would still have a cool name like the Black Plague, or if they would have just called it like Sev 94,
One of the leaders of the free world will be referring to it as something else entirely. You don't have to worry about that. This is the lunchtime live stream while the world is slowly but surely shutting its doors to people doing anything. Brock just got a text message from our good friend Suchate, who asked me how Aaron and I are coping during these times. We are coping. Rachel says hi, Brock, and Andrew Jericho Kane is here. He's good to see everyone. Give us a like.
Hello, guys.
Don't forget to give us a like and a subscribe. It's going to be a lot of fun. A fun time happening today. We're going to talk Isolation and Star Wars once again. Brock was going to join us yesterday. He got called into one of those emergency shifts because you are saving the world one at a time, Brock, with bringing entertaining joy to the galaxy, correct?
Emergency. I knew about it. I just didn't tell you.
Well, I gave you yesterday's code word, so...
I also thought, yeah.
Well, we forgot to give yesterday's code word. You can find that pinned to the comments yesterday. So we'll review what this contest is later on in the show. Andrew can't hear Isolation without hearing you sing. Andrew, you should probably take it.
'Cause it's just my isolation.
I don't know why anybody asked for this.
It's not going to get old either. Trust me.
Jericho's not trapped in his house.
Well, that's good. Not being trapped in your house is good.
I don't know.
I wasn't able to do Bright Suns. But if you guys haven't listened to that, we're talking about board games on Bright Sun, Star Wars board games, and the kind of fun you can have with them at home by yourself if need be, because solo gaming is a thing.
Which Star Wars board games?
I go over as many of the new ones as I can, so all the ones Fantasy Flight made, which I don't own any, so I'm just kind of going by what I've seen and what I've heard. That Imperial Assault one, man. Every time I second guess myself on buying it. Brock, do you have any Star Wars board games, any of those?
No,
fancy,
I think I have Star Wars Monopoly, but is that? Are those the ones with they're the tabletop style where you have the little?
There's
ships?
a
It's
bunch like that. Then there's other ones that are more dungeon crawly, like Imperial Assault is more dungeon crawly. Wow. There's they made they're not like EA. They made a game every 4 months when they got the license.
Ouch, you EA!
Yeah.
Hey, they made Fallen Order, but I guess you're not a Fallen Order fan, so
I am. I actually do. I do enjoy.
I thought you didn't like it. What was it that you didn't like recently?
Battlefront.
Yeah, no.
Everyone knows you don't like Battlefront.
That's
Battlefront.
I'm confusing with a book you read recently.
Battlefront is currently the number one form of hanging out and having a good time with everybody. Aaron, what's up, Aaron?
I couldn't find you.
Aaron couldn't find me. It's look, the dog is back. This is insane. Yeah, Aaron couldn't find me. It's
Aaron, why is your dog climbing stairs all of a sudden?
Andrew wants to know why Haley's climbing stairs. Haley, come here. Let's look at the comments. Tumblin Sabres podcast is here. Hey, Tumblin. Jericho's allowed to leave for essentials, but that's pretty much it. Yeah. All right, let's get right into the show. Oh, wait. Sorry, I just got a coronavirus update. Here we're going to go to the show. The top planets to be isolated on and to not be isolated on. top planets to and not be isolated on in the Star Wars galaxy, not in our universe, because I would pick Jupiter. Just simply Jupiter. Andrew, you are the planet nerd here, so why don't you start off? If someone said it's Friday, let's say it's Friday, it's Thursday, but let's say it's Friday, and they say as of Monday you have to isolate yourself to one planet and you cannot leave that planet, which planet are you going to for isolation?
I love this topic so much, but I want to clarify one thing for me first, James, before I answer here, because I feel like I might be walking into a trap. Am I to assume Am I to assume that there is also a pandemic on the planet that I choose, or is it just I can't leave the planet, but everybody's healthy?
So basically, the pandemic is all over the galaxy.
Mm-hmm.
So the galaxy is Earth, and the planets are the countries, is what I'm saying. So you got to pick where you're staying.
Because here's the thing, you all know how much I would love to visit Coruscant, and I feel like you would never get bored, but it's a city of 1 trillion people. I'm catching whatever is going around if I'm on Coruscant. So I should probably not pick that if there's sickness involved. So I'm going to go ahead and say that the best place I could get stuck would be Naboo. Because we've seen that there's beauty in Naboo, but there's also lots of isolation. You know who walked in on that picnic by the waterfall? Nobody. And it's a public place. Anybody could have just been like, "Mommy, look, there's a Jedi with the old queen." But no, it was completely isolated the whole damn time. So I think Naboo is our safest bet. The Gungans found a place in the swamp where the droids couldn't find them for God knows how long. So I think you're going to be safe there. But we all have to take into account that somebody did live in isolation for a long time, and that's Rey. Jakku was essentially her COVID, but I don't think I'd want to be there.
No. Brock, any idea?
Yeah, I was going to say Naboo right off the bat as well, because you can just hang out in fields with weird cows and talk about how you don't like sand. I would say definitely not Tatooine, definitely not Coruscant, definitely not Corellia. Though I feel like Jakku, maybe that is better. I don't know. It doesn't feel as hostile, but maybe just because you have the scene with Mos Eisley in the cantina and it looks gross. But yeah, I can't think of another city per se. Maybe like, oh God, I had it in my head. What was it? Where is it that they talk with Enfys Nest in Solo? What is that place? What planet is that?
That isn't
the deserty one at the end.
Yeah, but it's like a beach.
That is Pasana.
No,
Pasana's in.
Savareen. Savareen.
Yeah, like that looks okay because it doesn't look as hot. So I would maybe go with that. I can't think of anything else. Endor. I feel like being in the forest would be okay.
That would be fun. Brock, if you were on, if you and Reham were stuck on Naboo, would you do the whole thing where you pretend the cow trampled you and pretend to be hurt, and then she runs over and she's like, "Brock, oh my God," and then she turns you over and you're like, "Ah, kidding, I didn't get trampled." Would you do that?
She get mad at me. It's like, do not bother the animals.
I like that you picked Naboo though. I feel like Naboo would be the only planet she'd be willing to go to in the Star Wars galaxy.
Yeah.
That's the one.
Yeah,
that's what I would probably go to too.
Actually, she loves Vader, so I feel like Death Star would be ideal for her because it's also you can isolate.
It looks pretty clean.
It's very clean and pristine.
It's very clean.
Or like Kylo's ship in the prequel or the sequels.
Yeah. But those aren't planets, so you can't be isolated there. You actually aren't allowed. You're not allowed in there. They're only open until 6 p.m. They're only open until 6. I'm going to pick a planet called Arvala 7. Are you folks familiar with Arvala 7?
That's where Quill lives.
That is where Quill lives. And who else? My little Quill bobblehead. I like Quill a lot. Quill lived in isolation for so long until he was pulled out of it and then murdered by the... sorry, spoilers for Mandalorian. Murdered by Imperial, by Moff Gideon's cronies. But Arvala 7, they got blurgs. If blurgs are like dogs, they can't contract this stuff. So I would love to be there. Your only problem is bounty hunters, and you just like move along, and you don't have to look at them, and you just hide in your little your little hut ship thing that he built, and you could reprogram IG-11 droids to be your nurse nannies. So I'm all for Arvala 7. I like it so much I know the name by heart. What a weird Star Wars planet name, though.
It is weird. I like whenever they throw a number at the end of a planet because it's like, oh, so you got plans for the other 6? Like, what's going on there? I had a question and now I forgot what it was. It had to do with your pick, James. It'll come back to me though. Carry on.
Do you know any other planets? Do you know why it's called Arvala 7? Do either of you know why the 7 would be thrown into the end there? Is there like an Arvala 1, 2, 3, 4, 5?
Not yet.
Yavin 4
Yavin
it stands
4.
for.
Yeah, true. There's because you have. Yeah. Do you want to look at the chat?
Well,
Yeah, I'll be right back.
Where'd Brock go? Andrew, you have to.
He's gonna go.
You have to
look
say something
on Wikipedia.
My internet's so bad. I don't know what you're saying.
I'm just hold on. I'm getting into.
My internet is.
I'm getting into the chat here right now. Dantooine, and you know what, Rural? I saw Dantooine and KOTOR. That is a beautiful, tranquil planet. I am not going to argue with you on this one. I wish, buddy. But the Falcon looks like it stinks. I feel like that would be like a breeding ground for bacteria because it always looks messy. Rachel likes the architecture of Yavin.
Yavin looks good. But there's too many. But the thing is,
actually,
are you in Yavin alone or are you with all the rebels? Because if I'm with the rebels, I'm not going to Yavin.
Yeah, I actually that ties into I remembered what my question was going to be. Now, I don't know science, so maybe this is wrong. But I remember hearing throughout all of this that once the cold weather stops, it'll be easier to fight the virus because hot weather is not good for the virus. So if that is true, I don't know if it is, but if heat is a natural enemy of viruses, wouldn't Mustafar be the best place to go?
Tom Hanks is in Australia and Tom Hanks has contracted this virus, so it's not winter in Australia right now, so that sounds like a load of hogwash to me.
Yeah,
I have to hear about Tom Hanks one more time.
Wait, Kyle says there
was a report this morning that his sister said something to the media. I'm like, oh, great, thank you.
Yeah,
Tom Hanks' sister.
You know what was funny though is Donald Trump came out with like his speech and he's like blah blah blah, and like within seconds Tom Hanks was like I have it, and the world shut down immediately. Like the NBA is like Tom Hanks has it. I know it was because an NBA player had it, but really it was because Tom Hanks had it. They're like they're done, and it was like Tom Hanks was the tipping point of the virus. The world's like it got real.
Yeah, pretty well.
Because America's sweetheart got this.
And the dude from the Utah Jazz touching microphones.
Well, yeah. That actually, you know what, in hindsight, that actually might have been, because I joke about Tom Hanks, but in hindsight, if you think about it, him touching all of those, Rudy Gobert touching all of those microphones and touching everyone's hands, that might have been the saving grace for humanity. He might have saved humankind by doing that, because after that happened, everything shut down. And it was because he got it. It was like, whoa. So, Rudy Gobert, thank you so much. We owe our lives to you right now.
Thank you for being an idiot.
Yeah, thanks for being so
the whole cancellation of sports, the fact that they cancel all the sports made me think, I don't know if this exists or not. Brock, you'd probably know because you work with the sports industry. Some kind of streaming service where you can have like a backlog. Like, let's say I really want to watch the 1986 World Series final, and it's on there. Like,
yeah, they have that.
They have that exists?
I believe so.
Oh, what's that called?
I don't know what it's called. I feel like the streaming thing for football is like Red Zone, Red Ticket, whatever. They have that. And like the Zone is like soccer and all that. Yeah. Like, have you ever seen DAZN?
Yeah, the Zone. Yeah, I've seen those.
They do that. And then like WWE, you can watch on their is it an app? Yeah, it must be. There's some I don't think it's like a pay-per-view, but it's like all their stuff is on that. So you can watch old WrestleManias and stuff like that. So yeah, I mean,
we should all have a watch party where we all watch the Blue Jays win 2 years in a row. Just relive that.
Kyle's in the chat, and he has the most perfect place to be isolated from the world, and that is Octo. Some caretakers, and a few porgs. And if you get hungry, we know how to cook up the porgs now. And there's there's also giant fish for you to eat as well.
I looked up Yavin.
Yeah.
I looked up Yavin, and it's legit because of their moons. There's 13 moons. It says Yavin, and then Yavin 4, Yavin 8, and Yavin 13. But then it makes me ask the question, what is Yavin like? We go to the moon, Yavin 4, but what is the Yavin? I think what's it say? Oh, it's an orange gas giant.
Yeah, I think it's a big red gas giant. What's which book is that you're using?
Oh, sorry. This is an old book that I've had for a long time. Star Wars Encyclopedia from back in the day by Stephen J. Sansweet, who is the predecessor to Pablo Hidalgo. I believe if you look him up, like there's something, there's a connection. I can't remember what it was. So like
he has the world's largest collection of Star Wars stuff.
That's it. Yeah. And is he the one that has like Kenobi Ranch or whatever?
Yeah, Rancho Obi-Wan. You can go and look at it. Yeah.
But it's cool and it's also fun. I bought this at a Price Club when it used to be called Price Club.
Back when they had toilet paper.
Did we lose James?
Uh-oh. James, you with us?
Yeah, keep going.
Oh, boy.
Oh, there he is.
Okay, there he is.
Anyways, yeah, it's a dope book. If you come over, I'll show it to you. It was like, this is how I... Yeah, well, after you saw how long it took us to record cloning around, it's probably just easier if he comes over.
Can you just make a 4-hour video where you hold the book up to your camera and...
Oh, yeah, I'll get right on that. Anyways.
James, if you were... you mentioned Octo being ideal, but if you were isolated on Octo, would you stoop to a level you don't care for and squeeze some green milk out of a big thing and then drink it?
I don't like milk, so that's a hard no.
Oh,
how do you know it's milk?
Well, that's even a harder no. I would go down with I would have some kind of like a pot, and I'll go down to the water and I'd scoop up the water, and I'm guessing it's salt water, so I'd scoop it up and I get saran wrap, some cellophane, and put it over, because I would have that on me, and I would put that over the pot, and then I would let it sit there for a while so that it absorbs it out, and that's how I would drink my stuff. That's how I'd get my salt, and then I'd start a fire, and I would put the pot over the fire full of water, and that's how I get rid of the salt in the water. I would survive on Octo. I'd make the caretakers do everything for me.
Wait, hold on. Is that real science you just dropped? Is that a thing you can do?
Yeah, Andrew, I'm a scientist, bruh. I live in the woods. I live in the woods.
He said he doesn't do science like 10 minutes ago.
Yeah. You put saran wrap over a pot of salt water and it will get the salt out?
I think there's a more elaborate way, but basically that's how it works.
Yeah, I mean, that's the... That's grade 2 science, dude.
Quick, someone get a potato and we'll put things in and show them how you can make it into like a light bulb or electric car.
I live on a well. I know very little about it, but I have this neighbor who doesn't have a house. He drives from Toronto. He's like just laying on his driveway. He goes, I just like to look at things. So I was like, okay. Yeah, and he's like, see, tell me about your well. And I had to give him like an hour explanation on a well that I only know an hour's worth of material on. And I felt like I knew a lot. But basically, you just put salt rocks in the water and it softens it for you.
Yeah. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Wow.
Science.
I did not know. I'd be on Octo and I'd be like, well, I'm dying of thirst. I wouldn't know what to do.
Well, you can still drink this. If you drink salt water, though, you'd probably get a lot thirstier. That's the problem, right? Like it wouldn't hydrate you; it would dehydrate you.
Yeah.
Trust me, I just got a wisdom tooth pulled. I spent 2 weeks with salt water running through my mouth. It's not fun.
Yeah. That's terrible. So Actel would be a great place to isolate oneself. Where else would it be? I can't wait to one day tell the story of how coughing in a store would get you the death stare.
Oh, the death stare. It's no
Ouija death stare.
What other planets would be good to? What planets would like other than Coruscant with its germs? If they shunned you, you're like, if you were like, let's say they like Brock, let's say they are like, you have to go work on X planet, and then all of a sudden while you're there, this quarantine happens. What planet would you most hate to be stuck on?
Hate to be stuck on?
Aside from
Hot.
Why? Everyone loves hot.
More like cold. I think, no, this doesn't answer your question, but I think Canto Bight might not be terrible because as much as it looks like a busy place,
They shut those
because it's sort of a resort, it might be semi-okay because you could isolate yourself, I suppose. At least it's like luxurious, so it's kind of nice, but that's one thing. And then you can ride those rabbit horses.
Do you think those things have ticks though?
Yeah, but like one thing at a time.
No.
It's either Lyme disease or it's Corona. Decide on one.
That's where I am right now. I'm like, well, if I go outside, I'm in the woods, so no one's around me to get Corona, but I'll get a tick and Lyme disease. But if I go anywhere else, I'm gonna get Corona. I'm really trapped in this little room that you guys see me in. I don't leave.
Like I'm trying to like, take this whole thing seriously and self-isolate, but I'm more concerned about Lyme disease than I am about Corona. I don't know if that
I've read articles on one and I've seen one in person. And well, I mean, look, I haven't experienced the coronavirus.
Yeah.
I can't say anything, but I could tell you the other one is not fun at all. And and they're both they're both out there.
Yeah, I don't want to catch anything.
I don't want to catch anything. I'm staying in this basement playing board games by myself.
Yes, sir.
Andrew's...
I was actually thinking about that today. It's like, could you play board games through like the internet, like through Skyping? If someone has a board game, but I feel like if you're not playing with someone who's paying attention enough, that it might fall apart. Unless it's sort of like Cards Against Humanity sort of style. Maybe that would be ideal.
Yeah, maybe that. Otherwise you'd need like one of those overhead cameras that you see those like gaming live streamers use, so everybody can see the board.
Like, I know you could just play online, but like I think it has to be like you're on Viber or Skype or whatever, and you can see the person's face.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so.
All right, all week we were doing this contest. It is, we have a fulcrum word, a magic word, a code word, whatever you want to call it. We give one a day. Yesterday we missed it, but it is pinned in the comments for that. All you have to do is listen to our live stream, watch our live stream every single day. It doesn't have to be live. You have until Friday to watch them all. Write down all 5 of the fulcrum words, and on Friday by 8 p.m. Eastern time, you can email us at rebelscumbags@gmail.com. Email all 5 of those words, and you'll be entered into a draw to win Star Wars High Republic Light of the Jedi. We won't say what yesterday's word was. If you want to see it, it is pinned to yesterday's video. But, Brock, do you want to say today's word?
Yes.
Yes, he does.
Is it blurgs?
It is blurg, yes. And you will find it on Avatar 7 is the planet that it's on, which is
Avatar
Avatar 7. Blurg. I do want the Funko Pop of the Mando riding the blurg. I haven't got it. I probably won't, but I do want that one. It's awesome. I would get just a blurg Funko. Would be great as well. Just the blurg standing on its own. But that's today's word is, Brock?
Blurg.
Blurg. Blurg.
Blurg. Your word is onomatopoeia.
Do you know how
Country
to
of origin?
Does anyone know? Blurg is an interesting word to spell, by the way.
Is it not the way you think it's supposed to be
Well,
spelled?
there's two G's, so it's Blurg. Blurg. You guys watch Frozen 2 on Disney Plus now?
Not yet. I want to.
Yeah, I
But
haven't watched it either. Yeah. Andrew, have you? I know you saw it in the theater, but
Yeah, it wasn't my favorite, so I just
It's-
saw it that one time, and I was like, eh.
it's funny because I'm on this Disney Plus Facebook group because I'm hip, and half the people are like it's better than the first, and half are saying it's not. It's really weirdly split down the middle. Every time I go on,
Wow.
it's one or the other. Yeah. I liked Olaf in the first one.
You don't like him in the second one?
I haven't seen the second one. I don't know.
Oh, okay.
I'm guessing I still like Olaf because I love you know that one that was in front of Coco that everybody hated because it was so long. I love that one. Olaf's
Ooh,
Christmas.
that was
I love that
was-
one. I love it. The problem with Frozen, and I've said this, is Tangled's better because the problem with Frozen is if it wasn't for Let It Go, it wouldn't be half as popular as it is. That damn song, and if they don't write a song that's equal to Let It Go, people are just not going to care about Frozen.
Cool. Hot takes.
What genre does Star Wars novels fall under? I believe they're under science fiction in the bookstores, I believe.
Yeah.
Because they are next to Star Trek, I believe.
Yeah, they do this thing where it's like you'll have your sci-fi books, and then at the bottom of that section, you'll have sci-fi books that are licensed. So it's like, here's books about Halo, here's books about Warhammer 40,000,
Yeah.
and then the Star Wars ones will be there, and you can laugh at the people buying Halo books while they're there too.
The truth is, though, they put Star Wars in fantasy. I think it's not quite like it's not like Lord of the Rings or any like it's not on that level. You know what I mean?
I would qualify Star Wars as a fantasy before I would call it a sci-fi.
Yeah, but I think
That's
when
me,
you're category, I don't know, when you're going in category, I just think some of those books too are more like Bloodline. It's all politics. Like, it's not really fantasy.
Because like sci-fi is usually like originally was referred to as speculative fiction, so it's like it has to be based around a new technology that doesn't exist, or like there's always got to be something that affects it. Like it might, like the technology might not be the main focus, but that has like I guess you could say it's sci-fi in the sense that they can travel from planet to planet in an hour. You know what I mean? Because of their hyperdrives and stuff. So I guess it's like that, but it's just. Yeah, I don't know. Like, I'm trying to remember. I think it's under sci-fi. I mean, sci-fi and fantasy sections and chapters / Indigo are like side to side. So,
well, Rez says it's space fantasy, which is actually what it is. Or sci-fi fantasy even is what it is. But I think when it's at bookstores and libraries, I believe it is under science fiction because anything that has to do, like you said, Brock, with tech and all that stuff, and space, is that. Yeah. So, I mean, you know, like. Even though there's aliens, I don't know. That's still science fiction. No, I think like the Battlefront book, Twilight. What's the one called? Twilight Regime. Or whatever. That's a great book. If anyone has that one, is actually the most underrated new canon Star Wars novel of them all. Twilight Company, great one.
Great. Twilight the vampire book.
No, it's called Battlefront Twilight. No, I forgot what it's called. Twilight, whatever. Great book. Great book though, very underrated. Battlefront 2 is pretty good. The first one I thought was a better book all in all. So I definitely recommend reading that. But that one is probably more science fiction than fantasy, I guess.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think a lot of the books lean that way. A lot of the books are less fantasy-ish and more of like, let's talk about this computer for 3 chapters. And I think that might be why the books just tend to not hit for me a lot, is because they don't have that grandiose, sweeping, epic, thematic juice that the movies do. They're just more about, well, here's a mad scientist who built a droid. Let's go kill him. It's very, I find, this is just me personally, if you love it, great, but I find that sci-fi books are real dry. Like Ender's Game, those kind of books that are like pure sci-fi, it's like, woof, I can't, like I need to put this down and get to something with some flavor to it because they're so dry. And a lot of the Star Wars books, not all of them, but a lot of them lean more towards that than they do towards the more colorful, vibrant, fun fantasy stuff that Star Wars is usually known for.
It's true. I like Ender's Game. but once you get to like the third book in the series, you're just like, what's happening?
Oh yeah.
Reham just texted me back because I said, hey, we're talking about you on the live stream, and she's like, what did you say? We're talking about planets that we would isolate on. I said you would be on the Death Star, and she said, oh yes, 100%. I'd dreamily watch Vader phantom choke people from a safe distance. And I said, and it's all clean surfaces. And then she said, I wouldn't even have to tell Vader to wash his hands. He would just use the Force. So yeah, she says, even though it's not a planet, it's kind of like a planet. Does Death Star have its own orbit? I know it has a tractor beam.
You can't be isolated on the Death Star. They've closed it. But you're being taken. Yeah, but you're being taken off the Death Star because that's where you work, and they're like, we can't have more than 50 people on the Death Star. So you're gone. It's just Vader and Tarkin and Ben Mendelsohn. That's all that's left.
There's a sitcom. There's Vader, Tarkin, and Krennic isolated on the Death Star.
I would watch those three argue for hours and hours.
Ben Mendelsohn is a fantastic actor. I finished The Outsider, and then I was talking about Ready Player One the other day. I'm like, he's great in that. He's good as like a villain, and then also as like a hero. I'm like, wow, what an actor!
I really enjoyed Ready Player One. I thought he was really good in that. I actually thought the casting was pretty good in that movie. At first, I wasn't sure, but I have a lot of fun with that motion picture.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah,
there's Star Wars stuff in it, right?
There must be. Jericho Cade. Just mentions, I believe, watching a Star Wars podcast talk about Disney princess movies. You know what, Jericho?
Yeah.
Whatever. This is why we're here. I love